Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Power Plant in a Nutshell. First of all, sorry that I couldn't put a video on a regular basis. I got stuck up with some work and therefore the work overpowered me and I don't want to put any video half-heartedly. So let's start with, and in future I try to be more regular with my videos. In this video I would be covering the last part of a Rankine cycle, that is reheating and regeneration. And in future, if I think some topic has been left over which needs a detailed coverage, I will make any special video on a request. So let's start with reheating and regeneration in a Rankine cycle. Earlier, the machine which I used in a thermal power plant are of capacity 95 megawatt, 100 megawatt, 150 megawatt, or even smaller 50 megawatt. But with time, the capacity of a machines are expanding. Now we are have machines of 660, 800, 1000, and in some places we have also reached the megawatt of 1300 megawatt. Now, as we go higher and higher in capacity, we require more pressure. Therefore, the more the pressure we go, the higher the capacity we are able to build it. Now, as I explained you in my last video also, by increasing the pressure, what the loss I am doing is that if I only increase the pressure without increasing the temperature, then the wetness of a steam at last stages of turbine increases so high that result in a large amount of friction losses. Therefore, in order to limit the friction losses and increase the life of a turbine last stages, we have to restrict the dryness fraction to 88%. I think most of you must be clear with the concept of dryness fraction. For those who don't have who have some doubt regarding it, dryness fraction is basically the amount of steam which is present in a mixture of steam and water. Therefore, we have to keep a dryness fraction of 88%. That is, in the total mixture, the 88% should be steam and rest 12% water can be present in a mixture. So, even our turbine are also designed with keeping this view in mind. Therefore, if I have to go for higher machines, what the thing I require is I require a large amount of pressure or higher pressure. At the same time, I need to go for higher temperature also. But what will happen if there is a metallurgical limit on temperature? Then the only process by which I can go for higher machine capacity is by reheating. What happens in a reheating is that I put a steam in my turbine at a temperature of suppose 540 degrees Celsius and say pressure of approximately 150 degrees Celsius. Then at the HP turbine exhaust, that is the high pressure turbine exhaust, my steam would be at a temperature of 350 degrees Celsius and the pressure would be approximately 25 kSc. This I am talking for 200 megawatt machine. Now this steam has sufficient pressure that it can actually take another reheat. So now I send this steam again back to the boiler for reheating. This time the steam will take the reheat and reaches back to a temperature of 540 degrees Celsius. Therefore, my new steam would be at a temperature of 25 kSc and at a pressure of 25 kSc and at a temperature of 350 degrees 540 degrees Celsius. Now, when I bring this steam to IP turbine or intermediate turbine for work, this steam, when it will go to the LP turbine, after LP turbine, the steam will go to the condenser for expansion. During the last stages of blade, the steam will be at the point 4s. So, if the 4s is too much inside the curve, then the wetness fraction would be very high, and if the point 4s, which is if it is the edge of the curve, then the wetness fraction would be low. Now, coming to the next thing is that where do we measure the pressure, or how do we say that this cycle has a pressure of this? Normally, it's a tendency to measure the pressure at the either at the drum or at the water separator in case of supercritical units. In case of drum, in case of a subcritical units, we measure the pressure at the drum, and in case of supercritical units, we measure the pressure at the water separator. The important thing is to point out that with reheating, I can get more power with same steam flow. For example, in case of 200 megawatts, if there is no any reheating is there, then with 700 tons of steam flow, I can able to derive only 160 to 150 megawatt. But by doing reheating, what I have done, I am able to derive almost 200 megawatt of work with keeping the steam flow constant. Next thing is that will reheating result in increase in efficiency? It may totally depend on what would be the reheating steam temperature. If the reheat steam temperature is greater than the temperature of the MS, then it will definitely result in improving the efficiency. For example, if the reheating steam temperature is 590 and the MS temperature is 540, then reheating results in improvement in efficiency. Therefore, in most of the plants or in high units of 800 megawatt or even some 660 megawatts also, you will find that the MS temperature is less than the reheat temperature. Next thing to notice here is that what would be the ideal reheating pressure? Means how much work I have to drive in HP turbine, or what the pressure which I require for sending the steam into the boiler. Normally, as per the various studies which have been conducted, it is advisable that the reheating steam pressure should be 0.25% or should be 25% of the initial pressure. Therefore, if the initial pressure is suppose 100 ksc or 100 ksc, then the reheating pressure should be 25 ksc ideally for getting the maximum advantage or maximum work done. Now, let's go to the next part of this video, that is regeneration in a Rankine cycle. Regeneration. Regeneration is basically a step towards the Carnotization of a Rankine cycle. Carnotization because, as I have explained earlier, that the Carnot cycle is the most efficient reversible thermodynamic cycle possible till now. Therefore, my benchmark keeping the same process parameters is to achieve the cycle efficiency equivalent to a Carnot cycle. Now, in order to do that, I have two options: either increase the mean temperature of heat addition or reduce the mean temperature of heat rejection. Since the second case is not possible, as the mean temperature of heat rejection depends upon the ambient conditions and which are impossible for me to change. Therefore, now I have to concentrate on mean temperature of heat addition. Now, in order to improve the mean temperature of heat addition, we have earlier gone for superheating. But as I explained, this also get limited by the metallurgical constraint or the metallurgical limits. And if I go for higher and higher temperature, then the cost would be so high that that machine would not be economically feasible. In order to make it economically feasible and increase the mean temperature of heat addition, the next step is to increase the mean temperature of heat addition by adding the more heat in a gaseous phase and less heat in a uh, liquid phase, or reduce the irreversibilities which is arising due to the difference in the mean temperature. Therefore, what we have done, we take out a steam from a HP turbine or IP turbine or any of my turbine, use it to heat the water which is going into the boiler. This results in a higher mean temperature of a system. But what at what cost? my turbine output will definitely get affected. My total turbine output will get decreased. Therefore, with regeneration, my efficiency increases, but at the same time, my turbine output decreases. And in order to maintain the same output, I have to supply more steam into the turbine. This results in a higher capacity boiler or higher boiler size. Next thing which I want to point out here is that with regeneration, my condenser size actually get reduced. How this is? To understand this, look at this example. Suppose my 700 tons of steam is entered into the turbine. Now, out of this 700 steam, tons of steam which enter into a turbine, 100 tons has been utilized for heating the water which is going into the boiler. Now, the condenser has to bear the total load of 600 tons of steam only. Therefore, by doing reheating, my condenser size get reduced. Now, to understand this phenomenon of total regeneration in summarized form, let me present you with an example. Suppose my unit is running at 200 megawatt. The coal input into the boiler is 150 tons. The steam flow is 600 tons and the vacuum is 660 mm of Hg. And presently the heaters are in out condition. If I take heaters into the service, my coal input would remain 150 tons. My steam output will increase to 700 tons. My vacuum will increase to 665 or 667 mmHg, and my unit load will increase to 202 megawatt. Therefore, with reheating, my boiler size require a little bit. I require a little bit higher boiler size and a little bit smaller condenser size. Since it is impossible to get or impossible to do, I would say, 100% Carnotization of Rankine cycle, because for that we have to install infinite number of heaters, and that solution is practically not feasible. So next thing which comes to our mind is what would be the optimum degree of regeneration. uh, One thing to note here is that normally the maximum number of heaters which have been installed in any particular unit is 9. So after that, what it has been seen that if you add a further heater, though you get a improvement in efficiency, but that improvement doesn't justify the cost. That's why the maximum number of heaters which have been installed in any system has been limited to 9. So that's all in regeneration. So if you have any query, just write down in the comment section and I will try to answer it. So till then, take care, good night, and if you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.